destroying people with Lux necessarily. He's the Syndra and the Kassadin games and the Kha'Zix games have been the best ones for him. The ban that makes a lot of sense to me is the Singed ban already, because they're just getting that away from Godbro. That's one of the big things that he plays well. Obviously the Sona and Elise bans. It's about time people don't let Corralius play Sona.
Definitely is. I mean, he's played a lot of Sona in the LCS so far. And he said that if Sona's available, he's his most comfortable champion. He thinks the impact that Sona brings to the game is what you need there, and he's quite happy to hit one guy with a crescendo because that's always the key man. Well, so he says. It's
the excuse if you want to miss your Sona ult, be like, that was the important target, and we got him. Hit the Sona ult just right. Tail end of it on one guy. Karthus ban as well, though. That's got to be at Schleia or Freddy, because Freddy has played like well. Bot lane Karthus, mid lane Karthus. Schleia had a lot of Karthus games in solo queue as well. So, you know, this first pick for Against All Authority is actually a tricky one. I'm not sure what they're going to go for yet. I know they want to pick really strong lanes, maybe a Renekton for Freddy, but that's a total guess. Yeah, I mean, Freddy has, there's a Thresh obviously left open in this one. And we've been seeing more picks than bans of Thresh, which kind of surprises me in a way, because, you know, he is still very much a game-changing champion. And he's almost supplanted Blitz in a lot of ways. Like the one game we saw Thresh banned, we saw N-Rated play Blitzcrank instead because he wanted to land those hooks. I don't necessarily know why teams have stopped banning him, because they're still all picking him early, right? Yeah. So they still see a lot of value in the Thresh, as far as I can tell. I love seeing him play. Like, even in the last game, the Thresh plays by Krepo really create a lot. Going in with slivers of health. He had like a quarter health, and he went in, put down the box, and really just created the team fight for everyone. And especially going up against, if Copenhagen Wolves wants to pick a Jarvan, that's a tough pick in, because Thresh can actually, his little E flay spell, if you see the flag go down from Jarvan, you just use it, you're going to stop him from knocking you up on Thresh every time. Yeah, and that's you know, a great counter there in a way to him as well. So it looks like Varus will be the choice here for the test. We've seen him actually playing a lot of amazing Ezreals, but he's kind of stopped that whole Ezreal play. It almost feels like across the board, Ezreal is seeing less and less play. A lot of it's being supplanted by Varus. Varus is super, super popular, and this is actually almost an example. Against All Authority picks Teemo. Whatever. Not real. It's not happening. Talking about Varus, the incredible crowd control he brings in Season 3, as well as the percent health, since everyone started health stacking, got people practicing Varus, and now even though people are kind of away from health stacking, they're still wanting to do it more and more. Well, it's not going to be a Teemo, we can say that for sure, as the boost come out when he changes back in towards Volibear, who is locked in for Against All Authority. Again, let's say week 3, maybe it was week 2 that we first saw it coming out there for Diamond Procs. Before that, we just didn't see Volibear. Like, he just wasn't even... Didn't exist. No one thought about Volibear at all, but then again, no one thought of Shyvana before Intel Extreme Masters Kiev. Or even Jungle Masses, right? Like, they are, it's the Moscow 5 innovators, and it's Volibear time now. Everyone plays it. We were talking earlier, it doesn't really fit some teams' play styles, because Volibear is very all-in. You go, and you are fighting. So... Also against Jarvan, it's kind of hard, since Volibear really has to run straight at the target, especially since Virtual does have the Ghost. He won't be able to get through any of the Jarvan ults, so there is a potential of both these teams kind of picking pseudo counters into each other, mainly because they have their preset composition that they want to go into, and they're just going with it. Well, let's have a look then what Copenhagen Wolves are going to add in there to the Varus and the Jarvan that they have in there right now. And it looks like a Lulu, which, you know, Deficio, we've seen him play Thresh to a great level. Obviously, this time around that can't happen. There's no Sona in there available. And I think with those two down, Lulu is the next most popular. And this would be really smart if they go with Renekton as well, because then they deny it from... Fiora. They would deny it from Freddy. Actually, I see the Rumble already picked. I imagine that's going to be Freddy on the other side. Yeah, they're trolling the crowd. They didn't get the reaction of Fiora that they'd want to get out of Teemo. Yeah. The Lulu is also particularly good for them. Deficio wants to redeem himself a bit on this. Last week, when they played against Fnatic, he said Deficio almost blamed himself for the loss. He was getting caught in teamfights, but the biggest thing he said is he wasn't getting off his Lulu ultimates. So in this game, look for him actually to be really quick with his Lulu ultimates and make sure that he always gets them off in teamfights. And there is a Kha'Zix hovered over, which again surprised me, because when we've seen Kha'Zix being played well, he has been a complete game changer. Yeah. He's been so good. I mean, Alex Sinch's performance yesterday obviously is the one that really springs to mind for you. But
again, he's
Mid
come
lane.
down towards these last picks. Yeah, I mean, mid lane, you've got that Rumble in there, which you'd naturally expect to be with Freddy.
And this could be very, very good for Against All Authority. The only issue with this is if they go with Kha'Zix, that lets Bjergsen have his pick as they do lock it in with whatever he wants to go against it. Vayne for No as well. Very, very interesting. Last week when he played Vayne against SK Gaming, he destroyed. That was also against a Jarvan, but it was a mid lane Jarvan. I would love to see Bjergsen play Zed here because he would be able to hop on Vayne. Vayne can't necessarily avoid all the spike damage amazingly well from Zed. And I haven't seen Bjergsen play Zed, but with his Kha'Zix play yesterday, with his Syndra play, Bjergsen showed that he can play almost anything. It would make an all physical damage team for Copenhagen Wolves, but I'd still like it a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're going to go for here. They said, again, Ryzen almost, with some games, he's bam, first pick. No even thought process involved with that one. Yeah, in this one, we see him picked as the bang last choice for Wolves.
Yeah, in high elo solo queue over in Korea, he's the most banned champion. So he's like, he was what the Shen has been for the past year in almost the entire world. It's becoming Zed in high elo Korea. A lot of players love him in competitive. He's getting more and more steam here. It's like the one shot that he gets, and they've obviously went for it.
Yeah, going straight in for that one. So we've got the two teams here locked in there. Hard one to call this one. I mean, Copenhagen Wolves, as he said, they're in decent form here, despite being bottom of the table. Against All Authority have been a little bit up and down. They've been very yo-yo-ish in the league so far.
I just look at Against All Authority's team comp, and they've swapped around Freddy and Schleia. I don't know who's going where. Are we going to see a mid lane Rumble, or just see Schleia play Rumble top? This is what Against All Authority has. They confuse you in that way. They have a strong synergy in Vayne and Thresh, but not necessarily the strongest lane. You look at Copenhagen Wolves, their laning is incredibly strong. The only trouble they might run into is the fact that they are all physical damage. They do have a lot of crowd control, and they do have a lot of armor shred, but that's going to be their weakness.
So here we go, an important game for both teams. You know, Against All Authority are in that position, that mid-table where you still, with wins, can be really pushing up to the top spots, or, you know, a couple of unlucky weeks, and you're fighting against those bottom two spots. Copenhagen Wolves, on the other hand, they're rooted to the bottom of the table. This is their time to shine, to pick up wins. They have to be winning these kind of games if they want to get out of that bottom spot.
4-11, but that's after an 0-9 start, so they could really be on a tear. Like, if you look at the last 6 games, I'd say they have a better record than Evil Geniuses or SK Gaming, right? Like, if you're just looking at the last few weeks of the season, they are not an 8th place team, which puts them in a tough situation, and I love that side.
Yeah, that side's been doing the rounds here. They've been trying to sneak it in behind the French casters to get on the screen. Security guards have been shooing them away every single time. But this time we obliged with the cameraman, so they got themselves up on the stage. But we are about to get into game then. Against All Authority here on the blue side, up against Copenhagen Wolves here on the red side. As they've said, real important games. I mean, we seem to make that point all the time now, and that's because of the stage we're at in this season. We are pushing up towards the point where we hit the halfway mark and relegation starts to set in.
We're like just over the halfway mark of the first half of the season, right? So it's really the players starting to focus more and more. Once again, 8 and 7 are immediately dropped into the relegation playoffs. If you're 3 through 6, you then have kind of a playoff to see if you lose that, then you go into relegation. And obviously 1 and 2 don't get involved in the relegation whatsoever. Both of these teams, you know, at least Copenhagen Wolves still in 8th place, wanting to get out of there, and Against All Authority has to make sure they don't drop down.
And there's a dancing bear in the middle and a dancing ninja. So Bjergsen and Virtual just having a bit of a dance-off here to start off the game, but at level 1, Jack, we saw earlier on how good EG are at that, how they really plan out that level 1. This time around, do you think we can see anything?
Well, I wonder how much planning they've went through if they both run into the mid lane and start dancing with each other.
Maybe that's part of the plan.
It's part of the plan. It's like, well, if he dances long enough, we can sneak in behind him and get him. And there's actually been regular level 1 wards placed down. Copenhagen Wolves have went for 3. There have not been any vision wards placed yet. They don't have any deep wards in the jungle, so like none of these teams are really that curious what the other team's doing. I'd have to say Against All Authority would be more vulnerable to the jungle invade. They put the ward down at their blue, but this is a very much, we're just gonna do regular jungle. Looks like, is this gonna be a lane swap or not? No, I don't think so. Yes, it is. It's a lane swap. It's 2v1.
Yeah, we've got the Freddy Kha'Zix down at that bottom lane. If I can get his name out there, that would always help. Svenskeren just been helped off here by Godbro. on that Renekton. If anyone knows how to play against that Renekton, it's going to be Freddy, his most played champion so far. But of course, 1 versus 2. Who do you think has the upper and bottom hand, let's call it, in these 1v2 lanes?
Yeah, I gotta say the Renekton, which is on Copenhagen Wolves, has the short end of the stick, or the good end of the stick. He's the one who wants to do this. It's the Kha'Zix who's going to be in trouble. The strange thing about this, though, is this is reverse of the regular 2v1s you see. Usually you see the AD carry and support from red side go up top because they have access to the double golems. But I think these teams mind-gamed each other, and they were probably both looking for a 2v2 and just ended up walking to the wrong lanes. Freddy, down here with Kha'Zix, struggles in 1v2s. Every time you see a Kha'Zix that's not in mid lane, he pretty much always gets 1v2s because until he gets his void spikes, he has a really hard time surviving.
Svenskeren only blue buff right now for Copenhagen Wolves. Virtual, the opposite side doing his blue buff, as well. So we'll see how they actually get involved in these lanes in the coming moments. We have wards down actually on both sides of the map. Freddy's not got one in that tri-bush there, so that's a possible opportunity for a 3-man gank down at bottom.
The only thing that's warding against that is the fact that Svenskeren's going up to protect Renekton from getting 3-man dope, so they'd have to bring Zed down and he'd end up walking through a ward. We may not see too much here because Nono and Keralis have the pink in the tri-brush, so no matter what really Svenskeren does, he's going to get spotted, and he's just going to go back and farm his jungle like normal.
Yeah, straight back in there. Let's have a look at the early CS here. We can see that Varus, as you predicted in that 2v1 lane, having a better time of things. He's 22 to the 16 of Vayne right now. Freddy is sat on 11 CS, and Godbro only got 1 creep to his name right now, so we'll see how that actually works out for him. He's trying to get in there, but you can see the damage that comes down from Keralis and Nono, even at this early stage, is significant.
Yeah, I may have called this wrong right at the start. I figured he started with the red elixir, whereas Freddy started with the cloth armor down bottom. But it does seem like Freddy is getting the better of this, whether that's Copenhagen Wolves doing a really good job with the Tess and Deficio, or doing not a good job denying Freddy, or whether it's just the fact that up top, Godbro isn't very good at the 1v2 on Renekton.
Well, we'll see how that all pans out. Virtual going to be helping Freddy here just to ward that bottom lane off a little bit. But honestly, I'm not sure what he's going to be able to hold on to. One thing that the Tess and Deficio have done well is damage on the turret. That is already fairly low. As we see Schley going in a little bit on towards Bjergsen, but I think he's going to struggle in this lane, at least until he gets home there and gets himself more items on the way.
Yeah, we don't see much mid lane rumble. There's a few players in solo queue that one of his name's like mid rumble GG, and he plays it every game. He's like Diamond 1, and he always just goes and ganks side lanes with it. But now we see the mid lane gank approaching from Virtual.
Yeah, Virtual going to start running in there, but we can see Bjergsen just waiting inside of the brush, and they decide not to follow through with that one. So a fairly pensive start to the game, a lot of protection coming in from the junglers rather than ganks. You know, they've just been there to make sure that they can hold onto the turrets that are there right now. Let's just skip up and have a look at the health on that turret at this point, and it's still pretty healthy. If you compare that to the bottom, it's definitely advantage Copenhagen Wolves on that front.
I think I've figured out the reason there's the minion kill differential between Renekton and Kha'Zix, and likewise between Varus and Vayne. So what's happening in the top lane here is Against All Authority is focusing on denying Godbro minions, not on tower damage and not on harassment damage. But you look at the bottom side, and all the Tess is caring about and Deficio is getting minions and hitting the turret. That's why Freddy's been better at minion killing at the turret, but that's also why his turret is lower and why the Tess is getting more farm.
There's the Q coming through, lands nicely straight through onto the Tess. Virtual looked like he was coming out. Glitter Lancel just slowing right down there, and he can't push any further. And the Tess doing a lot of damage here. That next Q could actually be pretty deadly, and in the end, Freddy jumps away and will back off. There is Svenskeren getting involved in the top, of course. Was spotted there, I think, by Keralis just about as he headed down. He won't be able to make an appearance. Yeah,
and in that bottom lane, Virtual looks like he would be in dive potential. The turret is very, very low down there, and he might end up losing it right here. Like, he does have his passive and there's no ignite, but if Copenhagen Wolves wants to kill this turret, they can, and that's a very early 6-minute, 30-second turret.
6.5 minutes in, that's actually almost 1,000 gold lead that's given the Copenhagen Wolves now as well. We can see there 2.1 to 1,800 gold between the two. 80 carries 60 to 45 CS there, so doing a good job. Zed also got a nice advantage in the CS in the jungle. It's advantage for Jarvan over Volibear as well. It's just this Kha'Zix Renekton that's still a little bit of a struggle for Copenhagen Wolves. You can see see No, he is quite happy, even with Jarvan there right up in front of him, to keep putting the damage down.
He's a very, very confident AD carry player. Sometimes it gets him in trouble with positioning, but sometimes he just makes huge plays. And with Vayne, I really want to see how No plays again in these team fights, because you're almost like a potential to assassinate with Vayne in team fights. You can stealth through a front line sometimes and just get to those priority targets. And with the balls on No almost, he's so aggressive he can just make those plays.
Yeah, but as you said, can get caught out with him as well, and that's not what they want to happen as the AD carry support headed in towards this top side now. They surely know that Svenskr is in there as well, as Bjergsen actually going to go in here on towards Slayer. The Ignite is down. Bjergsen decides not to follow up. They're quite happy just to push him through. Here comes the gank. The hook will land on towards Godbro, but that will just be enough to send him back. 4 men in top lane. That's a lot of commitment.
They really want to counteract or get the second turret here. They've already left the bottom lane, and this is the big thing. Freddy's freezing down bottom, so there's no pressure on Copenhagen Wolves for sending these far off. They're going to probably stay in here as long as they can. They have almost no turret damage. What?
Wow, Corralius going in there. That was a risky play coming out. Gets polymorphed up by Deficio. But in the end, you will be safe as well. And now Godbro and Svenskr both going to go back, and bit chaotic here at the start of this game, which usually means we're going to see a real interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know what the benefit was of him going in, but now the flash, or the ghost coming in from Virtual, and he burns a double flash from the Tess.
The flash is burnt there as the Q comes out as well. Virtual, on the other hand, did use his ghost in that gank as well. So he was trying to get himself in there. Corralius' flash was obviously used as well. Slayer having no flash available in the middle, especially with that Jarvan around, could be dangerous times for him.
He's got to make sure now that they can't push up as much. They've already killed the one turret, and they're pressuring really hard here, and this is dangerous. I mean, Volibear's coming in again. Let's see what happens.
There's the ultimate coming in, but they've managed to get the hook. There's the fling back. The Test going to get exhausted as well. Can he get away from this one? I don't think he's going to be able to survive. He walks back off towards the turret to make sure Lulu is safe. First blood coming in for Against All Authority.
That was just over-aggressiveness by Copenhagen Wolves. They knew their flashes was down, and the Thresh Volibear gank is becoming the classic combination. You have to be aware of that every time you're pushed up in your lane. It almost means, like, if you're pushed up and you don't have flash, you're not allowed to be pushed up because you're in danger of dying in those situations. That really pulls Against All Authority close to even without them even taking a turret down yet. So if they can somehow get some damage onto any of these turrets. Actually, I'm looking at the turrets now, and they're not even close to it. But here, maybe a dive on Slayer.
Oh, this could be very interesting. Slayer puts a ward down, and talk about a lifesaver there from Slayer. My God, sticks it right on top of Bjergsen, Svenskr's head there as he's waiting inside of that brush. He's done that from feeling, and that was, well, just perfectly done. He saved him, because I think he would have gone down there in the end.
Yeah, that's just awesome communication. He knew that Jarvan was in their jungle because they had their entrances warded, but he didn't know how long Jarvan was going to be in there. So he was like, if I want to feel safe, and specifically, if I want to help my team get the blue buff as well, I need to find vision of Jarvan immediately. So he warded that as a guess. He's either with the blue or he's going to come dive me. He got the ward out. It was in exactly the right place, and it really saved them a lot of pressure.
So let's have a look through some early items here that have started to come up. Zed, no real surprises, heading straight towards that Blade of the Ruin King. I think we only saw one real deviation from that one in yesterday's games. On the other hand, Zane going to be coming in for Vayne here, with Varus going BF sword direction.
Vayne has got to be one of the best items. Just wait. Blade of the Ruin King.
Vayne is a brilliant item.
Vayne is a brilliant item for the Blade of the Ruin King champion, but I like the build actually from both Zed and Vayne. Vayne is already a Night Hunter, so the Blade of the Ruin King will just help her chase down even more so when he gets that going. And then the spike damage from Bjergsen is going to be so key. Look for Bjergsen to go and make a play pretty shortly here with that ultimate and the Bilgewater Cutlass.
Yeah, and let's not forget, we've just seen that outer turret go down in the middle. That was the second of the game for Copenhagen Wolves. So in terms of towers, they're doing really well. Jarvan is actually headed down towards Freddy here in the bottom. Godbro going to put the ultimate on. There's the jump away from Freddy. But how far is he really going to get? Svenskr waiting off from this one. There he goes, sliding in. Cataclysm comes down. Now it becomes a lot harder for Freddy to escape this one. Godbro couldn't put any damage down onto him, though, in that meantime. But Freddy is slowly but surely going down. There was the stun. Godbro gets the kill.
The slow play gank there from Svenskr came all the way around the back and then pulled that one off, so they paid off. That was the lane. They'd already killed the turret, so Freddy was really in no man's land in those situations. Didn't have the wards. They didn't even have the river wards to approach, and all that freezing that Freddy did, the instant the lane pushed back to the other side, he got punished with a gank.
Virtual now headed into this top lane as well, and maybe try and collapse with 3, but the ward in the Tribush will give that one away, but it gives the opportunity here for aAa to pick themselves up an outer turret. That will be their first one of the game, unless it can be stopped. The Varus ultimate not quite connecting. The hook will pull a minion in there. So both teams not really landing what they wanted to, but here comes Zed. The chase is on for Copenhagen Wolves. There is Ghost from Virtual. He wants no part of this one, but they may go in for No-No. He's going to stealth up there, but Bjergsen goes in, gets the kill. Wild goes down as well. This could be a double for Bjergsen. Actually will pull away. Coralia's taken a lot of damage. Oh, not quite finished off there by Lulu in the end. That could have been 3 kills there for the Wolves.
And it's crazy what keeps happening in these games. Every time a team is trying to do the fast push strategy, which kind of both of them are, they're getting tremendously punished for it. That was Bjergsen running all the way up through a ward. If the test would have landed as Verisalt at the start of that, it would have easily been 3 kills. But even though it was just the one, they're probably getting yet another turret out of it. And if they get this, that'll be 3 turrets to 0.
Yeah, that's the perfect start for the Wolves as well, but... And again, I'm going to say that but out there because even though someone wrote on my Facebook page and said, Joe, stop saying but like that because it really annoys me. But it is going to come out once more, at least today. Copenhagen Wolves have had trouble finishing games before. We've seen them in these great situations after lanes, you know, turrets down, everything in their favor. But after that, they've had a bit of a problem to really push it that step further. They need to gain a real advantage and from that a win.
And the advantages they have right now are also hugely in initiation. You look at Virtual, who's on Volibear right now. He's only level 7. He's not big enough to be able to run in. Godbro, despite being denied so much, has rushed that Sunfire Cape. So, like, if Copenhagen Wolves makes the fights come to them, they're in amazingly strong territory right now. And that's why they're forcing on the Dragon. They know that No-No is up top trying to push out the top, and they're just going to take even more objectives. They're probably losing the turret up top, but they don't actually care about this as long as they can hold mid.
Dragon gone. 3,800 gold is the lead that Copenhagen Wolves have right now. You can see how that translates on the different lanes, and actually it's pretty strong across the board. Look at Zed, 5,000, let's call it, to the 3,300 of Rumble. He's got a big CS lead. Vayne is behind here by around about 300 gold. It's done a good job of farming whilst they got together as Deficio here, having to flash away, but Virtual is still chasing in there. Can he fling him backwards? Equalizer thrown down as well from Rumble. That was an interesting time.
That was almost kind of a sign that Against All Authority is going to have real trouble initiating, because that was the flash burn from their main initiator on a solo target, and all Deficio had to do was burn flash. He didn't have to do much else, didn't even have to pop his ultimate. They're trying to make a play here Against All Authority, pushing in. They pulse Fensker and the turret's getting low.
But is that the right target that they really want here? Virtual already down towards half. A Slayer comes in there. Can they get this one turned on them?
Copenhagen Wolves coming in from behind. Bjergsen with Zed looking to make a play. There's the flash.
Here we go. Varus ultimate will landing onto Coralius. There is the box, but here comes Zed to rip them to pieces. No, he's going to die. Coralius goes down. They've got 1 kill back, but it's a double for Zed. He could be more as Freddy tries to run away. He's finished off by Renekton, and that will be a 3-for-1 for the Wolves.
Warning signs had to be going off and Against All Authority once they were pushed up in that situation. They'd failed an earlier initiate. They used the Volibear fling. They'd already tried to get Schleya's equalizer out. They didn't have the things up in that fight that they needed. It allowed Copenhagen Wolves to flank around from the back. Bjergsen, again, amazing positioning, making plays happen for his team, and that is great for Copenhagen Wolves.
Bjergsen now pushing onto this inner turret in the bottom lane. Volibear's presence will force him to back off, albeit with a 4-level advantage that he has there over Virtual. Could probably turn on him, but underneath the tower, not so confident at this stage. The items that we're seeing coming out, Locket of the Iron Solari finish for both junglers in the top lane, or certainly the single lanes here. We have Sunfire Cape with a 2-0-1 Negod Bro.
And I have to make a quick correction. Virtual is, of course, a Ghost Volibear. For some reason, I thought he'd used his flash, but that's the Ghost initiation he's trying to get through. It was the flash that was burned to escape from Deficio. So it was just the Rumble ult they didn't have going down into that fight. But like you're saying, these items are getting bigger and bigger. Bjergsen, now that he's hit the level 11 as well, Zed gets huge power spikes at 11 and 16 with that ultimate spiking up, and the fact that he's gotten the Blade of the Ruined King, soon to be Black Cleaver, is going to help their entire team. Like, they know they have full physical damage, so the faster that Bjergsen gets to Black Cleaver, the bigger their team fight presence is going to be. You can get away with full AD comps nowadays as long as you get to that Black Cleaver, and as long as the other guys on your team are building the Last Whisper, which is, I think, what Copenhagen Wolves is going for across the board.
So what comes next here? Wolves are in the jungle. And actually flanking around the back there was a pink ward down by Against All Authority here in the brush, which will actually spot the push out now from Copenhagen Wolves. Godbro actually getting quite close in on towards Slayer, and this could go really wrong. The Varus ulti comes in, Slayer is popped out of nowhere. They saw that one coming, they should have been well away from that.
It's one of these problems. They've lost so many of their outer turrets, but they're still trying to farm like they haven't. They're still trying to create a laning phase. But guess what? The laning phase is over. Now it's go time because Copenhagen Wolves has 4 mid, and Freddy is still split pushing. Can Against All Authority hold against 4?
No can't do anything about the Zed in the bottom. He knows he'll get destroyed. There's the hook, but again, it's on Jarvan, the person that you don't want in the middle of your team.
And all that would happen if they pull themselves into Svenskeren is they'd get counter-initiated on, and this might continue. It looks like they're going to push up with 4. It will be a 4v4 soon because Bjergsen is gone. So Against All Authority would want to initiate it this time, but Copenhagen Wolves sensed it and they're going back.
Wolves dropping back off there. There's a ping in the river by the Baron as Bjergsen closes in on towards Freddy. He's going to dump everything he can onto him here. Will he be able to get the kill? Freddy is going down. He's not going to survive this one. If he does escape this, then he's going to be chased down by someone else as he gets the void spikes. There's the Q from the test. I mean, as I said, if he'd have survived that 1v1, the rest of the Wolves were hunting him down.
It's an awesome snipe shot from the Tess. I love seeing the full charge piercing arrow just cut through. You don't actually get to see it that often because normally he's trying to stack up triple blight and then just quickly shoot it off to proc it. So a rare snipe that we get to see the Tess showing off his geometry skills as they were trying to run away there. And that's just another bad thing that happened for Against All Authority. They got 3 turrets down, luckily, but they're down 5 turrets of their own. They're also down 5,000 gold. Their items just haven't caught up to the point yet. Schleia, yes, he has the magic penetration on Rumble, but his ultimates haven't been able to be thrown in the right place. Like, they can get the Rumble ultimate down, but unless they're going in with Corrales' Thresh or something and catching it inside the box, they're not keeping people on the Equalizer for long enough for it actually to burn them down. Copenhagen Wolves is choosing when and where to fight. They have more initiation. They seem to have more control. And also, Copenhagen Wolves just seems to have a better sense for the way this game is going. Against All Authority keeps pushing up in lanes where they shouldn't be. And let's see if that happens again as Copenhagen Wolves is probably moving towards this Dragon in about 45 seconds.
Yep, going to be coming up here as soon as they're going on towards Freddy. They're going to go starting in with this one. The Lantern comes down, but Virtual gets caught. He throws Jarvan outside of Cataclysm, but it's not going to mean a thing because the Tessa's ultimate has caught them all in this one. Corrales will die. Freddy jumps away, but that's another 2 for nothing for the Wolves.
It's another one of these situations. aAa only has 4 people in the mid lane. They have no turrets to fall back into. Why are you in the river? Svenskeren jumps on you every single time. Nono is trying to split push, but they're in danger of losing their inhibitor. No, get back to the base.
No is pushing the outer turret in that bottom lane and actually not even fast enough to come straight back. He's getting the minions while he's there as well. And this is an inhibitor gonna go down. Yes, they've managed to pick up that turret. Are they gonna try and chase back to Bjergsen, who is fairly low after that encounter? Actually, Freddy is coming out there. No may try and head them off, but I'm not sure that he really wants to get involved. And another question for you, chat. I mean, No is obviously going to get stronger as things go along, but how do they protect him against a Zed that's going to dive in there, a Jarvan that's right on top of him, and a Renekton that slices and dices his way in?
You're already seeing Nono preparing for that because, like, he knows the team can't protect him that well. He's already built the Ninja Tabi, he's got a Blade of the Rune King, his own defensive item, and he's built the Giant's Belt. So it's like they don't have protection for him. He's got to fend for himself, which, you know, I was telling him to get back to base, but I think he probably made the right call there. They were already 5v3, even if he was back. They probably couldn't have held the inhibitor, and Nono did pick up a turret for his team, and he got much needed farm on his own. I've seen him make trade-offs like this last week when he was playing SK. Like, they actually gave up a dragon, this is Against All Authority, just so Nono could farm a couple waves of creeps over in the top lane. So they want him to power up very much so, but this is becoming a very bad situation for them. Nono, you know, maybe he can get involved in the team fight. I don't think he's there yet. Against All Authority has to be a lot more passive than they're being because it has been proven that Copenhagen Wolves can start fights on them, and Copenhagen Wolves is stronger. So we'll see if that trend continues.
Yeah, there's a Black Cleaver as well now finished for Zed. That item that we were talking about earlier on. We've got the Cutlass finished off by Varus, along with that Bloodthirst from a little bit earlier on. If you look at Renekton, he's got a Sunfire cape in there. He's moving up towards that Last Whisper as well. So, you know, you talked about that combo that they need to reach. They're really close to it now.
Yeah, at least they got the Black Cleaver, and that's like almost over half the battle because that's armor pen for everyone. The Last Whisper is just icing on the cake for anyone who gets that there. And you can see the test is off, split pushing the top. I'm looking at Against All Authority here. They really want to fight them, but they just can't get the initiations. It's just Virtual's Volibear who really has to start it. All he has is that Rolling Thunder, and he's just getting kited around.
Yeah, no Ghost for him up at this stage, which he definitely is going to need to do something with here. Of course, Super Minions are coming down the middle lane, making it harder for Against All Authority to push that one up and force Copenhagen Wolves to respond to it. As we see them back away once again, they don't have any ward coverage really at all here Against All Authority in their top side of the jungle around that Baron. And to be honest, they probably can't afford it right now. I mean, we've got the Ruby Sightstone in with Thresh, but that's only a limited amount, and they're gonna need more at this point.
And you look, the Oracles is on to Fischio. Everyone of Against All Authority is off farming. Like, this is another situation. Nono's trying to get that big wave, but he's so far away from this fight that if Against All Authority goes to get this, they're going to get peeled off and killed. This is really, really bad for Against All Authority. I don't know how they're going to deal with this Baron, but they pretty much have to just run headlong into Copenhagen Wolves and fight.
Yeah, they're going to have to fight this one out. Deficio trying to keep them all zoned off as Freddy going to take a lot of double damage. The Equalizer comes down. The Boxers in position as Bjergsen is now on a rampage. They're splitting off, chasing everywhere they can. Corellius is going to try and knock them off their target, but it's not going to work for them. Virtual is going to go down here, and that is going to be 3 men picked off. Nono and Slayer have come in from that back side, but look at the Wolves. They've lost... okay, round about 2/3 of the health on some players, but the rest are very, very healthy still here for those 3 kills.
And it's the fact that these aren't real team fights. Against All Authority is going in one at a time. Copenhagen Wolves is together. This is why they're 4-2 in their last 6 games, because they forced the Baron at that time. The bottom lane is just pushing itself. Nono's got to get back to stop this stuff from happening. This is so good for Copenhagen Wolves.
It's everything coming together for them here. And the irony as well, in that bottom lane, Nono was farming that when that Baron started off. But they still push through, and they've taken down that inhibitor turret in the bottom lane. So only the top lane has an inhibitor. Actually, there's an outer turret still there in the top. Wolves don't seem too concerned about the whole top side of the map at this stage, but they have the Baron buff on them now. And this is where it gets really scary for Against All Authority. And actually, they are going to surrender it. They're going to give the game up. Copenhagen Wolves will take down Against All Authority, and they are 2-0 this weekend. Good play from the Wolves.
And that was their most impressive victory yet. That's 12 for 2, right? Like, that's not what the 8th ranked or 8th best team in the LCS does to people. They're clearly, I mean, you always say you are what your record shows, but they're clearly playing better than what their record shows right now. They came in, they were not the home crowd here. They were the away team. They got booed during the introductions, but they really crushed that game.
Can be very happy with how they performed from that one. We're going to go over to our analysis desk once again with Jason and aAa to break down all the action.
Thank you for that, Joe and Ja. And aAa joining me once again. And I have to say, to start this off, shouldn't be the Copenhagen Wolves anymore. It should be the Bjergsen Wolves.
Yeah, actually, yes. It's like every time we see Copenhagen Wolves winning, it's because Bjergsen just carry or just like do the plays to that team. He's doing pretty well with every champion. We saw him playing Cinder, we saw him playing Kazani, we saw him now playing Zed. And
Kha'Zix yesterday.
He's Kha'Zix yesterday, and he's absolutely one of the best players on the LCS European, and he's carrying really well these games.
Yeah, it's bad to say I'm quite surprised, but it's just insane at how much he's helped the team level rise, their confidence, their play style, with just him joining the team again back in, I believe it was week 3.
Yeah, exactly. They were like 0-6, 0-7 before he joined. Then he joined, and the first week they lost the 2 matches or 3 matches. Then they went like 0-9. But after that, they come back and they are winning almost every game. Probably not against the top teams like Gambit or Fnatic, they're still losing. But against those like equal teams, like their level, they're winning them. And they are actually, I think they are out of the 8th place of that LCS championship, right?
I believe they are actually, I'm not 100% sure, but I know if the Giants lose one more game, they will easily be out of 8th place, and they'll start to move up, and potentially they could get out of that bottom 2 standings to actually not go straight into relegation and have a chance to keep their LCS spot.
The relegation against us.
Well, you guys are going to lose anyway, so it doesn't matter. I mean, if Bjergsen's playing, you guys are screwed. But anyways, I'm just
I hope Bjergsen get out of that 2 places, and then we get 1st place, and then we dodge Copenhagen Wolves.
Yep, that would be a good thing.
I hope so.
Wow, I feel so bad for doing that. But anyways, let's go back to the game, because this was a very one-sided match. why was it so one-sided? Besides, the actual game, was it picks and bans that caused it?
Well, I think they had better comp, even though they went full 80s. That's something risky, because if they stack like armor, you get like a bit down. But still, they were like pushing bottom with that Varus and Lulu. Meanwhile, in top, Vayne and Thresh could not push anything. They didn't took the tower from top the first minutes. Meanwhile, like in bottom, they took the tower, they moved top, and they almost get another tower in top. So in this metagame, actually, it's about pushing. It's about early pushing, getting early levels, and trying to pull that early advantage into the game. And they did it perfectly. Copenhagen did it perfectly. And the moment they get bottom, they move top, and even Jersen get top to a gang. And it was like immensely... really nice play by them, because they got like 1 kill, almost second kill, and then the turret. It was just like really good moves by Copenhagen every time, just pushing like every single lane.
And what do you think about the whole Jarvan Zed combo? Because when you see Jarvan just lock up No, Zed would come in and just pop him.
Yeah, actually, I have to say something I don't really like is like, with Ghost is fine, but I saw so many people running Ghost against Jarvan. And I couldn't understand that. It's like Jarvan is going to get you on his ultimate. You have to flash away if you want to survive. If you go Ghost, I mean, in this game we saw like Jarvan ultimating Bolivia, completely out of the team, and Bolivia runs Ghost at that time. And he's like, what is he gonna do? Like, he's going to run around the Jarvan ultimate or what? Yeah, he was doing that.
He's gonna run circles around Jarvan.
I don't know what they're thinking, like, if you're against Jarvan, against Anivia, against something like that, you need to run flash. Even against Ashe or something like that, you need to run flash. You need to dodge that. It's something like, yeah, M5 or Gambit Gaming, sorry, is running that Ghost on every champion, but don't you think you're Gambit Gaming and don't put on that? I don't know. I don't think it's a really good idea to run every time Ghost.
No, it's a really good point, because Snoopy was on the desk yesterday talking about when I think it was the Gambit Fnatic game, and how Gambit didn't have the ability to get a strong initiate. I mean, Volibear was their initiate, but he had Ghost. He didn't have the flash to grab or to flash flip someone. And it looks like against Authority had that same problem, where with the Lulu Glitter Lance, no one could get in there quick enough to really start off the fight.
Yep. The only decision was Thresh going in, throw the lantern to Bolivia grab it and Ghost, or Thresh getting a grab. But if that doesn't happen, like this game, they have nothing to do. And in the other point, Jarvan is going to EQ and then ultimate someone. And they have to defend him, because he's already in the ultimate. They have to stop it. That initiation from Copenhagen Wolves.
And you saw him every time going straight for No. We're going to see that in the replay. We're going to show you just a few seconds, as it was still relatively early in the game. It was about 15 minutes in. There wasn't a huge lead for either team at this point, but one little mistake made by Against Authority kind of made it so Wolves could snowball the game. So let's go and get this on your screen, and Arna, just walk us through exactly what happens there.
In this point, aAa were pushing mid lane. They get mid tower. Slayer was harassing Jarvan, and Jarvan flashed away. I didn't understand why Jarvan flashed away, because he was completely fine since only Rumble was on him. But still, he flashed away. He decided to flash, and then Copenhagen will decide to go on them. We saw Varus coming from the left. We saw Seth coming from the right bottom.
Let's point him out real quick, because it was really important. If I can...
Riva.
I was going to say, if I can find him, but he's right there, yeah. It's really important, because that was
Wally Jersen.
Oh.
And then Varus flash ultimate, Slayer flash it, but then he hits Karalius, and the ultimate of Varus is gonna hit on Bolivia and on Nono. And now Seth and Jarvan gonna ultimate Nono, destroy Nono, and at the same time Slayer is killing his Vescan. But Thresh flash away from Renekton and get died by Seth. Seth get a double kill there, almost a triple kill from Freddy, but now Scumbag Nick Gubro get the third kill, and they get 3-for-1 for Copenhagen Wolves and another turret, and that was pretty much what happened. Like, every time aAa was trying to do something, they didn't have enough initiation to do it, and Copenhagen Wolves just group and destroy them with that Jarvan ultimate. It was really well played by them.
And, I mean, we saw Against Authority run a Vayne. Do you think that was the right champion to run? I mean, you look at it now and say no, not with the Jarvan, but do you think they had the protection they needed to keep him alive?
They have protection, but they didn't... I don't think they expect Seth to be last pick. I mean, Seth just destroyed Vayne. Nothing you can do from Vayne against Seth. It's like, against Renekton, against Jarvan is fine. You can I think, tumble the Jarvan ultimate, so it's fine, and you can, like, push out Renekton. So it's fine, but against Seth, nothing you can do. And more when Seth is a bit fed and he got like the Blade of the Ruin King. He just one-shot you. Nothing you can do against that.
A bit fed might be an understatement right there. But speaking of Zed, well, it's a little bit of understatement, because, I mean,
sorry.
It was ridiculous how strong he got as the game progressed. But speaking of him, who was the MVP?
For me, it was Jersen. He completely outplayed all the aAa, just moving all around the map, like going top, going mid lane, going everywhere and getting kills everywhere. So for me, like, the MVP of this game was Jersen.
Yeah, he played phenomenal. He's been doing that every week for them so far. He's really been a strong backbone for him. And I've talked about it before. He's really helped the tests grow as well as a player because it used to be all the weight was on his shoulders. But, you know, now even it out a little bit. Team's looking very solid. You mentioned before, this is, or even Jet mentioned it, that this is not an 8th place team we're seeing play. Like, they don't win games like this when we're in 8th place. This is like easily a top 5, top 6 team right there. And hopefully over the next couple of weeks we'll see that happen.
Yep, I hope so as well. I think Copenhagen will deserve to be in that high spot of the LCS.
Yep. And, well, thank you once again for joining us. I believe we're going to the stage with Shocks, who is a member from the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yes, I'm here with the Tess, of course, AD carry for the Copenhagen Wolves, the Tess. Now, first off, it wouldn't be aAa if they didn't throw out a surprise. They had Rumble in the mid lane, and you guys were up against Kha'Zix. How did that go for you?
I feel like we predicted their picks pretty well. We predicted the Kha'Zix. We just thought he'd go mid. That's what the set was for initially, but it went pretty well anyway, and it just worked out. Like, the picks worked out. We predicted everything pretty well except for the Vayne, I think, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference till late game. So
you guys are doing very well, you know, after being 0 and 9, you're just climbing to the top. And I was wondering, watching teams like Team Alternate and Meet Your Makers doing very well, is there some voice in the back of your head that's like, oh my god, we might be up against them later in the season and we might have a hard time?
I mean, we're in the LCS and we're playing against the top teams, so there's no one we really fear anymore because we've gotten used to it. But I mean, especially Meet Your Makers look really strong, so we know we should fear them, and we're going to have to prepare really well if we go up against them.
Finally, of course, aAa was a favorite here because we're in France, but how do you deal with that, you know, you're not the favorite at all by any means, and do you have any words for the French fans?
It's okay. I mean, the audience here is amazing. They're so loud and so passionate. Yeah, there you go. We didn't expect to be the favorites against AAA. I mean, they should be the favorites, and they're really cool guys, one of my favorite teams. So I get it.
Thank you very much, Tess. Now, as always, before into a short break, we want to hear what you fans think. We always ask you a Twitter question, but now we also have a web page dedicated to collecting your thoughts on all things LCS. If you have any ideas for features or someone you'd like to see at the analysis desk, go over to bit.ly/LCS survey and help shape our show. Now, after the break, the Dragonborns are taking the stage. They're playing with 2 new members here this weekend, so let's find out what they can do against the Season 1 champions, Fnatic.
by aAa from Team Alternate. And we're going to have a little bit of a chat here right now. We talked a little bit earlier about the Alternate, how they performed over this weekend, qualifying for the relegation matches coming up after week 10. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Season 3, because we never talk with players about how everything was changed back, was it like 4 months ago, 5 months ago-ish?
Yeah.
So you're the jungler for Alternate. Let's go ahead and just talk about that mostly. How has Season 3 in general affected the jungle? Season 3 in general affected the jungle, I can say that.
Well, actually, the biggest point, it's about like the warding. I mean, even like, it could be another question. I think like the warding, it's like destroying all the kind of ganks. Before we saw like one of the strongest champion in jungle, and most for me, like it was my favorite champion was Alistar, but you can't run at Alistar anymore because there are like so many wards. Your ganks are not going to be that strong. It's more about counter ganks this season. So you can't gank that much as before. Before I remember I was doing like, for example, with Maokai, you could do like red buff or blue buff with Q, and then a skill W, and your level 2 is going to be the really strong gank. And almost it was like level 1, maybe 1 or 2 wards in total, no more. Right now, level 1, we always see like 4 or 5 wards. Level 1 is like everything warded. It's sometimes like one of your buffs warded, then all the entrances like in river, 2 wards in top, 2 wards in bottom, and you get a spot everywhere. So you can really do that crazy ganks level 2, level 3. It's more about like FK, farming jungle and getting stronger and trying to do the counter gank, or trying to move to a 3v1 or a 2v1 disadvantage, not like trying a 2v2 or something like that, or trying like an early gank.
Has the amount of wards really affected where you start in the jungle, and has it affected like your jungle pass stuff? We've talked to a couple of junglers mentioning specifically, like if they see one put down by the Wraith camp, they kind of walk around it so they're not spotted to go towards the red buff, and then they sneak in a gank somewhere.
Yep.
How does it really affect you?
Well, that's a good point, because many people ward in the right. So when you start like blue buff, you do blue buff, you start doing wolves always, then blue buff, and then instead of going for the right, you go from the back of the red buff, doing red buff, and then you're sneaky because they don't know where are you. So many people expect you to be like at right, but they don't see you. So you can like pull that to gank anywhere, and they won't know exactly where are you. So that's a really good point. But the path of jungle is like, you have to check where they have warding, and that's really something. Is not your job. It's not the jungler job. It's like, hey guys, hey mid lane, where is the mid lane wards? And they have to know it. It's not anymore like before. We rarely see like wards on mid lane. Every mid lane just put like one ward and enemy right. Sometimes they steal it anymore. Not anymore. I mean, they don't put like defensive wards, but right now it's like everywhere warded. It's a bit boring for the jungler.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask that. Is it really frustrating?
Yeah,
because
it is.
You can't really provide much support or much action going into the lanes. I know Riot tried to make things a little bit quicker with how Season 3 was focused around, but it seems like if you're gonna gank, it's gonna come from the lane.
Yeah, it is. Well, not only from the lane. There are always some champions that can do like a sneaky gank. Like there are Jarvan, like Vi. They can jump over a wall, like Drake wall, Nashor pit, and they can just go behind because they have that ability to jump a wall. That's something really good. Even Zed can do the same. Like Zed, Vi, Jarvan. There are so many junglers that they can jump a wall and try to do a sneaky gank. But that's only like 3-4 junglers, not more. Like the rest of the jungle need to do like laning gank, or wait for the enemy ward to run out, or even like buy tons of ping wards to destroy the warding and try to do a gank over there.
And what about itemization of junglers? Because now with Season 3 you have the Spirit Stone as an item to go for, or the Madrid's Razor. How does that really affect you?
Well, many people doesn't know that even for junglers that need Madrids, Spirit Stone is good. The thing of a Spirit Stone is that you can evolve it to the Golem Elder.
Ancient
of the Golems?
Yes.
I think it's Ancient of the Golems, or Golem Ancient or something.
Spirit of the Ancient Golem.
Okay.
There we go.
That item is really good because it gives you tenacity. And there are only 3 items right now that gives tenacity. It's that item, the Mercury, and the Zephyr. Only 3 items. And for a jungle, you can only run to Mercury or this item, this Spirit Stone Evolve. Maybe it's Zephyr if you are Kale or something like that, but not anymore. Like, there are 2 items to give you tenacity, and many junglers need mobility boots to early ganks or to counter gank. So for that, heroes like Bolivia, that the Madrids on Bolivia are really good. Still, going for a Spirit Stone and then evolving to the tenacity item is also good if they have a lot of CC. So that's something you have to think about. And going like Madrids, it's really, you can counter jungle a lot. Like for example, Vi is a clear example that you can go or Spirit Stone or Madrids. And if you go Madrids, your counter jungle is really strong. You can jump over a wall like Golem. I did it so many times, like Golem minute 7-10. You just jump with Madreds, and with the speed and with the E, that the E procs with the Madreds, you can like get the Golem in 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and you can just like counter jungle so many people with that Madreds. It's really strong, but you have to decide where you're going. Like, there are so many champions that only can learn Madreds. Like, for example, all this kind of no mana champions is pretty much better than Madreds, because the Spirit Stone gives you some mana regen. But still, I think Spirit Stone is quite a good item.
And how do you know when to actually evolve the item or when to take Spirit Stone? Because sometimes the situation might call for mobility boots or something like that before you evolve.
Well, the point is that if they have a lot of CC, do you need a Mercury or this both? You need like Tenacity. It's a really good item. It's a really good stat, that Tenacity. So if they have a lot of CC, and you run already mobility to do like counter ganks to help your team on mobility for all the map, do you need that Tenacity item to stop the CC?
Right. And what's your take on how the jungles evolved in terms of champions? For instance, carry junglers versus tank junglers versus support junglers. Like, how's it really affect you? Because I think you were one of the first people to really try to push Ezreal jungle, and you've had actually good success with it, at least in solo queue.
Yeah, Ezreal jungle is really fun to play. It's like, for me at least in solo queue, early season 3 was always won by the AD. Almost like every time, if the AD is fed, you're gonna win. So at that point I said, okay, I don't trust on my AD, so I will go AD jungle. And the best jungle AD to work out is Ezreal. Ezreal jungle is really good, but it's not the only one. Like, you can run carries jungler as well. Like Seth jungle, we saw Insect playing it, and it's really strong. I'm trying it as well, and it's really strong. Also Elise, I'm working it on a full AP carry champion, not a single tank item, only like Rylai's as tanky item, but I go like full damage with Elise. And there are other few champions that can go like really carrying on jungle.
Yeah, notice that during your games versus Major Makers, you built straight damage on Elise, and then I believe you had a tanky top lane to kind of counter that out a little bit. I want to ask you one more quick question, and it's about with everything, with all the innovation that's coming into Season 3 right now, is it more important for you to develop a new jungler that isn't used yet, or is it more important for you to develop like new paths, new routes, new timings?
I think right now, the only 2 guys I saw on the LCS, or probably all over the world, that did something innovating was Diamond Prox, pulling that Nasus, pulling that Bolivir, pulling that Xin early, end of Season 2, early Season 3, and some of the champions, he's the one pulling all these new champions, Diamond, and I also saw Insect pulling that amazing set on the jungle. For the rest, I don't think you can pull anything else. I guess I'm the only one like playing Elise jungle, or one of the few guys still playing like Elise jungle, and consider Elise jungle one of the strongest junglers. But I don't think you can pull anything new right now in the metagame.
Okay, well, thank you again, or once again, for the insight. Always love having you on the desk to talk to you, even though I sometimes am a little bit of a jerk to you. But we always love you in the end. But now we're going to go ahead and go over to Shox to introduce you to game number 3 of the day.
We are ready to go. Time to introduce the teams. First up, in the blue corner, led by Sushi, it's the Dragonborns. A lot of love here for Sushi, but in the other corner, the Season 1 champions, avec vos chouchous, Soaz et Yellow Star. Give it up for Fnatic! I can just feel it. This is going to be an amazing game. Let's go over to our casters and get into the action.
Thanks a lot, Shocks. Joining me here this time around is Jason Kaplan. Jason, how are you doing today? First time on the caster desk for you.
It is. I'm a little deaf right now because the crowd was so...
Sorry, what?
Exactly. I was so damn loud. I mean, you could hear them through the headset. You take them off, and the decibel meter was just ridiculous in here. The crowd is so excited. I'm excited. I'm ready to get into this game.
Yeah, we're going to be bringing you Fnatic versus Dragonborns. An important game for Dragonborns, I have to say. We've been having a bit of a look at the table in between games, and to be honest, Dragonborns could find themselves in 8th position if they lose both of their games today. And when I talk about their 2 games today, they are playing Fnatic and Gambit. Probably the worst 2 teams that they could go up against. Talk us first of all through Dragonborns, the changes. How's it affecting them so far?
I have to say, we saw him play yesterday, and I was a little bit disappointed at how it kind of turned out. We had Dexter 1 and Yamato Cannon not really do anything special. They really didn't seem to meld in the entire composition of the team. Copenhagen and Wolves just seemed to walk over them a little bit as the game kind of progressed on. But, you know, they're always one of those teams that's really aggressive early on. They can be really surprising. And I think if they took some time yesterday and talked about it, they might be able to pull off something special here.
Well, they're definitely a team that Fnatic needs to be careful of, that's for sure. And then moving on to Fnatic, they beat Gambit yesterday, the first time that they've managed to beat them in 3 encounters. They're looking strong today.
They really are. I mean, that split pushing they did against Gambit, they just weren't touched at all. Expect a perfect play out of him on Twisted Fate, always heading down towards that bot lane to push it up. And the thing is, every team that plays against Fnatic always says it's really hard to deal with their split push, and we're probably going to see that yet again, which might counter the kind of crazy, chaotic playstyle of the Dragonborns.
So let's have a look at the 2 lineups then. Of course, Dragonborns with a slightly different one this week around. Starting on the blue side here, we have Yamato Cannon, Dexter 1, Shushe Hosan, and Mover.
And over for Fnatic, Soaz, Cyanide, Expecka, Yellowstar, and Enrated. And I know as the camera kept passing by them, they kept playing up the crowd a little bit. Even Enrated got in on it, even though he's German.
Even though he's German, he's still got a special French heart because of Yellowstar, kind of adopted French, I think. So let's have a look at the key players then, starting off here with Dragonborns. We've pointed out their AD carry, Hosan.
Yeah, he's always an aggressive AD carry. He's really hard to lock down. Last time these 2 teams played, he did Draven versus Expect in the middle on Nidalee and actually did exceptionally well. He did a couple of 1v2s and really helped carry his team. However, because he showed his Draven is so strong, he keeps getting that ban out against him. His Caitlyn is even being taken away every once in a while. It's being forced into these new champions. His Varus, I wouldn't say it's as good as his other 2 AD carries, but it's still really up there.
And Fnatic, of course. This time around, we're going to pinpoint Soaz. He's on home soil here in France, loved by the communities. You can hear there in the background.
Yeah, he can play any champion in the top lane. Even Stanley from TPA said after Season 2 that he is easily one of the top 3 top laners in the world. And he's shown it time and time again. I'm always impressed with how he plays. And he showed us his Jace yesterday, which we haven't seen too much since the Season 2 regional qualifiers, but it worked out pretty damn well.
Despite the level 1 face check into the bush and then giving away first blood, they managed to win the game. And so before we get into our match then between Dragonborns and Fnatic, we had a chance to sit down with the teams to figure out what they were thinking coming into this matchup.
Yeah, Dragonborns is this team that either plays something weird, they play really good and they can beat anyone, like we have seen sometimes, or they have these bad games where everything works bad for them and they start throwing everywhere.
Like last time, we just gave it a try to go Draven mid. It went well, but we just didn't play as a team and they did, so they won.
You don't know what to expect from them. Either they're gonna destroy you or they're just gonna throw the game against you.
They played as a team and then we lost objectives and it snowballed in their favor. If we can repeat our early game from last week, I think we should have the game.
So here we go, and we hear the thoughts there as XPK said they could either do really well, be very chaotic and pull something special out, or they can just collapse in a heap on top of each other and end up winning nothing.
Yeah, and I like something Hosan pointed out is that they didn't play as a team or play well as a team against Fnatic. They had a really good, strong early game, but that's been the story of Dragonborns throughout the weeks, is that they're not seeming to meld too well. They've had a lot of discrepancies in the team of calls to be made, and there is no, still in my opinion, real voice of the team to say, hey, we're doing this, listen to me, because we need to make a play together as a team, not separated.
And that surely can't have got any better this week
That's
around.
Luno
and Spontex out of the team, Dexter in the jungle, Yamato Cannon in that top lane. There's no way that that could have improved, surely.
And the thing is, there's a balance, because Spontex was just, he was an unstoppable force in that top lane, or at least always in his lane. He always played exceptionally well. Even if he was in a 1v2, he would still come out on top in terms of CS, but they're pretty much sacrificing that to sacrifice, I guess, people that will listen a little bit more and they'll work together as a team. But you need a lot of time, a lot of training to really get that synergy down in the team fights. We look at EG, which I believe is considered the best team in Europe in terms of team fighting, but they've been together for so long, for I believe over a year now, and they've worked on that so many times, and that's why they're so good.
Yeah, definitely, and well over a year, I think, by now as well. Obviously, back as CLGEU, back in the days, which seems like ages away already since they, of course, moved here over to Evil Geniuses. We're about ready to kick off the Champions League. Jason, first of all, what are we expecting from both teams in terms of bans?
I think Fnatic will definitely take out Draven away from host side. I'm not sure if they're going to focus too many champions on him, maybe a Caitlyn as well.